and that's the Hunter Biden laptop story, because we got a new development. That's not really a new development, because from the beginning, we've known about this, right? We've known that the Hunter Biden laptop is most likely authentic. It's been authenticated by a number of high-level journalists applying journalistic principles for authentication of an archive like this, including Glenn Greenwald, who authenticated the Edward Snowden archive of information that Snowden delivered to him. Also, I think had some role in verifying, I think it was the Panama Papers, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, they've had these various archives released, and they have been verified by journalists. Well, in the same way, Hunter Biden's laptop is an archive of documents, a lot of emails, some pictures, some videos, other things that are on there. We don't know everything that's on there, but that has been being talked about. And, of course, this was first released October 14th of 2020, so it was about, what would that be, about 3 weeks before the election, the actual vote in the presidential election in 2020. The New York Post actually ran with the story, nation's oldest newspaper, right, founded by Alexander Hamilton, for those of you fans of the play. The New York Post published stories about Hunter Biden's laptop that he left at a computer repair shop in Delaware. And, of course, this all came with a lot of programming by the corporate media. Remember, this was all described as Russian disinformation. This laptop was planted. We heard that story. It was likely planted. This is mostly Russian. We had a whole bunch of intelligence, they call themselves former intel officials, who came out and wrote a story and said that the Hunter Biden laptop story is Russian disinfo. And they came out and they wrote a letter. This was talked about. This was just writ large across all media. And big tech used this very effectively, by the way, to totally silence this story. You did not hear about this story. If you remember, when the New York Post published this story and posted it on Twitter, Twitter totally locked the New York Post Twitter account. So a legitimate journalistic organization. It's not just and by the way, I think anybody could be a journalist. I think citizen journalists are some of the best journalists. But this is a storied old media outlet, certainly journalists, and Twitter just shut them down for posting what turns out to be a true story, right? Because that's the news that's come out. Now, we already knew it was true, and you probably already knew it was true at home. Look, you could see the photos. There's the photo with Hunter and his prostitute in compromising situations. Is that fake? Is everything on there faked? All these emails? Remember that guy, Tony Bobolinsky? He came out and said, yeah, this was all real. These emails, these are real emails. I'm copied on the emails. These are legitimate emails. These are exactly how they were sent. And, yeah, the big guy, 10% for the big guy, yeah, that was talking about Joe Biden. Tony Bobolinsky, he came out and did an interview on Tucker Carlson. Nobody ever talked about it. None of the corporate media ever mentioned it. This was all established and proved. This is before the guy was supposedly elected president, right? Before Joe Biden was supposedly elected president, and the media wouldn't run with it. Well, and I want to read you, because I just want to drive this point home to what the media was doing, because it's important for folks to remember this as you evaluate the news coming out of Ukraine, the news on this Ketanji Brown Jackson, the news on these Ukrainian biolabs, the news on what the DHS is determining about supposedly domestic extremists, the news about inflation. You've got to view all of these stories with a pretty jaundiced eye. You've got to be a little cynical, because these people have lied to us a lot. A lot. Remember? We're not even talking about the whole COVID lab origin theory. Remember, that originally was that caused you to be canceled. If you mentioned that on Twitter in early 2020, your account got canceled.
Before I met you and started this show, I didn't know how much we really were being lied to.
It's crazy, Pat George. And you know what it is I find a lot of people don't want to hear it. That's what I find with a lot of people. They'd rather not believe that they live in a world where they really can't trust any of the information that's presented to them in an easily accessible format. Nobody wants to have to really go dig for stuff. So if I can't just turn on the boob tube and put on the most trusted name in news and allow that to directly enter my brain and program me and have faith that that's true, I think a lot of people just say, I don't want to live in that world. So I'm just going to pretend. I'm going to live in the pretend world, and I'm going to lie to myself, and I'm going to live in a world of cognitive dissonance, because it's just easier for me to get through life that way than to confront the truth that all these people are lying to us. There must be some motive that I then have to think about why are they lying to us. Of course, with corporate media, it's fairly easy. It's because they are the corporate media. They're owned by big corporations who have huge financial interests in different areas of our country. But let's talk some more about this Hunter Biden stuff, okay? Because I want to point out this laptop issue that was talked about by the former Intel officials. And who would lie like the former Intel officials? That reminds me of something Mike Pompeo said. He said, when he was a cadet at West Point, he learned the West Point motto, which is, I will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. And then he said when he went to CIA and became director of the CIA, he said, remember, I don't know if you remember this video clip, we played it here on the show, the audio. He said, we lied, we cheat, we stole, we did all that stuff at CIA. And it's kind of like, well, we used evil in the service of good, right? That's their mentality. The ends justify the means. We have to make sure good wins out in the end, right? The United States is good. Therefore, we can use evil, we can lie, cheat, and steal in the service of the United States, which is good, and we're actually doing something good, right? Isn't that the mentality that these people must be undertaking? Anyway, these people are going to tell you in a letter that the Hunter Biden laptop story is Russian disinfo, and you're going to believe them, just take it at face value? Oh, well, I'm sure they have our best interests at heart. These people would never lie, cheat, or steal. Oh, okay. All right, but listen to what they said in their actual letter, because I want to emphasize this point because it kind of makes the point they knew that it was a lie, right? They said, we want, and this is a quote, we want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, are genuine or not, and that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement. Think about that. We do not have evidence of Russian involvement. We're just going to come out and call it involvement. And then here's what they go on to say. Just that our experience makes us deeply suspicious that the Russian government played a significant role in this case. So that's what they actually said. And then you have media companies like Huffington Post coming out with the headline, more than 50 former Intel officials say Hunter Biden's smear smells like Russia. Boy, that smear sure does smell. We're going to play a video of Norah O'Donnell on CBS Evening News saying the same thing when we come back. Well, so are you enjoying the show? Can you believe, Roxanne, that the New York Times is now admitting that the Hunter Biden laptop, or the laptop from you-know-where, as President Trump used to call it, is legit after telling us it wasn't legit?
Well, that's kind of how they cover news, if I'm not mistaken. It's okay to come out 2 years later and say, whoops, you messed that up. Sorry about that. Sorry it affected the outcome of elections, possibly. And I also heard you're going to play some of the Norah O'Donnell clips and just in relation to Russian collusion. But yes, I've been listening, enjoying it, and always enjoy your take, Morgan, because you got it right.
Well, thank you so much, Roxanne. And you'd laugh at me this morning. I took off this morning without sending my audio clips to Pat George and to myself. That's normally how we transmit them, is to send them via email, and then I could play it off my iPad. I probably built like a Rube Goldberg machine, far too complicated to get these audio clips. But now I've had to recreate them once I got here and realized I didn't email them to myself. And so I've actually got them, up on YouTube, and we're going to see if we can get this to work. I don't know if you remember this, Roxanne. If you can stick with us, I'll play this clip, and we'll get your thought on it. So I'm just going to be playing this raw in YouTube. I had cut it up just a little bit, so I won't be able to do that this time. And I'll just play for a while, and then I'll take the sound down. So let's just hear Norah O'Donnell on the CBS Evening News.
And tonight, the Trump campaign is accusing Twitter and Facebook of censorship after the social media companies blocked the spread of an unverified story about former Vice President Joe Biden's son and a laptop allegedly full of his old emails. It's a story raising concerns about whether it's real or just designed to sow confusion in the final weeks of the election. Here's CBS's Nancy Cordes.
Experts say it has all the hallmarks of information laundering and all the headaches of 2016.
I have nothing to say about WikiLeaks.
Back then, it was Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta whose emails were stolen and then dribbled out in the last month of the race. This time, it's a tabloid newspaper dribbling out emails purportedly swiped from Vice President Joe Biden's son.
This is a big smoking gun.
The go-between this time isn't WikiLeaks, but Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani, who says he got the emails from a computer repairman in Delaware.
He wanted us to have this. He also thought it displayed numerous crimes. So he gave them to my lawyer. We have the entire hard drive.
Giuliani has admitted before to working with a known Russian agent to dig up dirt on the Bidens.
Okay, this looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
Eric O'Neill is a former FBI operative.
Steal the information with a cyber attack, get the emails from Hunter Biden's account, and then put them on these laptops that are left at a repair store. And that's how the information is now laundered into the public.
Who do you think is behind this?
Well, the Russians would be my number one guess, if I had to guess.
Another echo of 2016.
Okay, so you hear that? You have another echo of 2016. What would be the echo? Oh, the Russians are sowing disinformation into our elections again. I mean, isn't that interesting? Let's have our FBI stooge on, and let's have him just guess at who might have been behind this, because that right there, that is heavy-duty news journalism. Don't you think so, Roxanne?
Oh, I think you're right, Morgan. I mean, it's just what we've come to expect. And I don't think, it's why in today's day and age, everything that's covered on the news, we're questioning. And I feel like even if I read a simple article on the science of why bugs are good for you to eat, I don't know that I can trust it. And this is obviously a much more significant story, and I don't feel like I can trust it.
And it's everywhere, isn't it? I mean, it's in this story. It's in the lab leak origins of the coronavirus. It's in the don't use that horse dewormer ivermectin because that most definitely won't help you, even though it saved, probably hundreds of thousands of people's lives in India and Africa and all around the world. Oh, and the studies are now coming out, by the way, that it radically decreases mortality. You talk about like a 70% drop in mortality if you take the horse dewormer, right?
And I don't want to say that like all journalists are bad and trying to put out false information and trying to follow an agenda. I just believe that there's too much information. You do have some people who are doing that. Their sources are bad, and there are just so many reasons why you have to do your own homework on this kind of stuff, which you do.
Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.